right, this is our April regular township meeting. Clerk, roll call.
Trustee Sewell? Yeah, he's here somewhere. Trustee Stewart?
Here.
Trustee Ball is absent. Trustee Gunther?
Yes.
Supervisor Cox?
Yes, here. Okay, we're gonna start with public comment, and before we start, I'll just remind everybody, the next meeting, we're gonna have new mics and everything. This was a quick turnaround, so there's only 2 mics, but we do have a mic up there. Public comment, just keep your comments to 5 minutes, and they're open. Anybody want to step up?
On any subject?
Whatever. Step up, Ben.
Oh, God.
You're walking first.
Ben.
Go ahead. Thank you.
My name is Doug. I'm a homeowner, taxpayer in Collinsville. The election is over. Derek, you were elected, and I hope things go well over the next 4 years. I guess I'm a bit of a statistics nerd, but the final total votes for supervisor are interesting and revealing. Although a disappointing number, 18.9% of Madison County registered voters went to the polls, the outcome shouldn't be celebrated as a victory lap. You won by only a mere 235 votes. Bones Allen hold the...
He won.
He did. I'm not disputing that. Sorry. I'm supposed to be addressing the board. Bones Allen held the position of supervisor for 39 years and was one of the most, if not the most respected man in the community. He recognized his responsibilities weren't confined within the senior center walls. I wonder how he would have reacted if a Matt Gunther of his time would have approached him with a list of serious concerns that were shared with him from the senior residents of Woodland Towers. Since this inquiry is hypothetical, I can assure this board that he wouldn't have asked, what does this have to do with us? If you're conflicted with a decision going forward, I would advise you to consider, internalize, what would Bones Allen do in this situation? In closing, you advised me to get a life. You called me a lowlife. I do have a life, and I spend a portion of it trying to make life better for people. Satisfying the demographic as a 70-year-old, I carry your claim that I am a bully as a badge of honor. I hope the 2,751 residents who voted for you don't experience buyer's remorse. I hope you can take this slim margin of victory as a mandate to do better. Thank you.
My name is Ben Jarrett. I live at 131 Roger Drive, Collinsville, Illinois. And a win's a win. So, I'm sorry for the people that didn't make it, but life goes on. Derek's the man now. So, my concern is that I heard that there's $1.8 million missing, stolen, whatever. I want to know. I don't know who to ask, who knows about it, but I'd like for somebody, because if anybody took $1.8 million from our township, we need to know who the hell it is.
Right.
And with that, I'll sit down.
Right. And just to answer your question, we'll answer that. How about during the bills? That'd be a good time.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, it's glad to see that 2 of the 3 hypocrites showed up tonight anyway. First, and another thing, the candidate that won the assessor's job didn't show up, and the person that lost showed up. I was just wondering if he could read the assessor's budget for next year, being he's not here. Okay, first I want to congratulate the people who won in the past election. Also to Mr. Paletti, congratulations. Just remember, forever doesn't exist. It just takes time to correct poor policies. Eventually, the people will get it right. To the people who are not coming back, good riddance. I hope you have a great life. I'd like to address the hypocrisy that exists with some of the trustees that caused the turmoil in the township. I was going to play the entire audio of the meeting of March 12th, but I thought, why bore everyone? So I decided to play just Matt Gunther's opening statement of the meeting. Now, this might be the hard part for me to get this right, because my wife told me where to put the phone at. See her?
Other end, maybe.
Can you hear it?
Other end, I think.
She doesn't. That's not it.
What does it say? Editorialize.
Turn it off. Okay. Well, I figures it didn't work. But his comment was, why am I doing this? And he said, because it's my job. And if anybody wants to play it, it's at 1 hour and 28 minutes into the meeting. Because it's his job, he says. Okay. Let's see. What a hypocrite. Okay. When you and the other trustees went on your crusade to try to shame Derek, you stuck your nose into a hornet's nest at Woodland Apartments. Now the seniors at the Woodlands is your job. Okay. You are mandated by law when you are made aware of sexual and verbal abuse to report to the authorities. Did you do your job? Now, the last meeting, you kept shaking your head up and down, trying to make everybody believe you did it. It's hard to bullshit a bullshitter. I knew you weren't telling the truth. Okay?
2 minutes.
So I did check into it. Okay? How do I know? I checked in with the manager at Woodlands Apartments, who stated she knew nothing about your accusations. She also said she just saw Matt the other day, and he said nothing to her. So I showed her the video. She couldn't believe her eyes and what she was hearing of these accusations at a township meeting, okay, and not telling her about it. Did you do your job? I then asked then I met with the Collinsville Police Department. They have no record of reporting this matter. I showed the video to an officer, and he asked the same question. He did this at a township meeting? And I said, yeah.
30 seconds.
And the officer reported, why didn't you tell us? And I said, that's my question too. Did you do your job? The Collinsville Police is looking into this video and this matter. Okay,
Right, wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing is accusing Derek of stealing money, I guess, I don't know, and taking it to the state's attorney, okay? Everybody knows he's my son. And I didn't raise him to steal. So I just want to know where's that going now? I would imagine nowhere.
All right, thanks.
Well,
Come on, Dan.
Good evening. My name is Rich Coatres. I am a Collinsville resident. And my comments are based upon really the last meeting and subsequent events that happened over the past few months. The first thing I want to address is as a group, as a senior, I know I don't look a bit over 30, but hey, I'm a little bit older. But as seniors, we're getting tired of all this crap. We're getting tired of the accusations. We're getting tired. We saw it in a national election, and now we're seeing it in a local township? Come on, folks, we're better than that. You're better than that. I need to remind you, you lost and you didn't run. So really, you have not much to say as far as I'm concerned. 235 votes was brought up again tonight, and I saw somebody put it on the Collinsville Connection today. Let me put that in perspective. 235 votes is what he won by. That was 53% of the vote is what he got. The other man got 47% of the vote. So that is a clear win. That's 6 percentage points. Mr. Markizich over here lost by 83 votes, less than 3%. But yet he's not making issues. He's not accusing. He's not pointing fingers. He's not causing trouble. Why? He ran a campaign, a fair campaign, and he moved on. He has no hidden agenda. Now, one of the problems that I had with the election was the man running against Mr. Cox. He was well hidden. He never came out. He never answered any questions. And he had people, I guess it was him, putting things on Facebook and the Collinsville Connection. But I can't ask him a question on Facebook. I can't look him in the eye in the Collinsville Connection and say, here's my question, sir. What's your answer? He was hidden. We didn't get a chance to even touch him to find out what he was about. In the future, if any of you decide you want to run, can I make a suggestion? Become available. Let us hear what you have to say. Let us look you in the eye. And you have a choice. You can either be honest or you can lie, but at least look us in the eye. The other thing is the days of uninformed voters are over. Folks see what's happening and they don't like it. And that's what I think you saw in the vote. And for me, personally, I'm going to be watching for the next 4 years, and I'm going to be listening. I'm going to be taking notes, and I'm going to be hearing things. And when I do, I'm going to talk to Mr. Cox. I'm going to talk to the board trustees. And if any of you that are a part, are not a part, want to disrupt government, and I'll make notes, that's appropriate. And if you decide you want to run in the future, those notes will be brought out, and everything that you say and do will be exposed to the public. My last comment is this, to the new board members. Throw off the ways of your predecessor. Listen to the people who voted for you and be guided by what is right and good. And this township will grow and be awesome in 4 more years. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'm Paul Nicolucci, I'm a Collinsville resident. I live at 221 Windridge Drive. Alright, so we'll just get started. A lot of people went over the stuff I had written, so I don't want to be redundant. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. Okay, so the elections are over. We all know that. It's been talked about here so far. Not just for the township, but all over town. And there's a pretty clear-cut message sent by the voters all around, I would say, in every single election. We'll focus on the township, and there's three things that bothered me about the township election. The first and most important one, I would say, is the insinuation that the state's attorney's office was investigating Derek. There was never a scintilla of evidence or any reason to believe anything of the sort that the state's attorney's office was investigating Derek or the township for anything. I talked to Trustee Sewell about it. He agreed. Clerk Jim Achenbach, I talked to council, I talked to Derek. Nobody thought that the state's attorney was investigating. There was no reason for that to get in the paper, and that's poor journalism. They should have fact-checked that. Finally, the Troy Times did. The state's attorney released a statement, but there was never any reason to believe that he was investigating anything. I assumed every elected official knew that. So to the elected officials who didn't try to stop that rumor and spread it, did you not know? I mean, being honest with you, I thought that was common sense that, law enforcement starts investigations, then they hand it off to the state's attorney. No trustee, no county board member, not the county chairman. No one can start an investigation and send it to the state's attorney's office, but a member of law enforcement. So that's all I gotta say there. The second thing that concerned me was the township's bank accounts being put on Facebook. There was full amounts and partial numbers. That is more than enough to give a hacker room to go look at it. And also too, there's employees' signatures who were also on Facebook who did not want to be involved in this. That bank did not want to be involved in this election. I mean, they did nothing wrong, but just to be put in the middle of this, rumors spread, some people said some untrue things about them. I mean, it's my home bank, I've been going there for 30 years. So I just didn't like that, I didn't think that was okay. I don't know why that was condoned by some. And third, I thought people used these township meetings as, like little campaign rallies. We had a really tough election in the fall. We had 7 county board seats open. 5 of them were incumbents, 2 of them were wide open. Every race was tough, some were tougher than others. It was full contact, gloves off politics. None of us let that go into the meeting. You could not tell it was campaign season when we got on the board floor, but it just seemed like from January on, it was just like a mini campaign rally. I didn't think that was a good look. So that's my only complaints, but let's finish positive. Matt and Ashley won't be returning, but they did run for office. They got elected. They served 4 years. Not many people do that. It's a lot of work, and you guys didn't do it for the money. I honestly believe that. You did what you thought you had to do, whether I agreed with it or not. Towards the end, you guys did step up and serve, so if you want to run for elected office again, good luck to you, or whatever you do in life, because you did take the plunge, and 4 years is a long time to do something like this, guys. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Paul.
Anyone else?
My name is Keely Morgan. I've lived here since 1980. I have asked this question a couple of times of Mr. Cox on social media, and a lot of his supporters suggest that you come and you ask in person, you speak in person. So I came tonight to ask you if you believe in accountability and transparency as far as government is concerned. I realize you don't have to answer that. I'm done.
Well, absolutely. I started filming the meetings back in the day. I was just one, so. All right. Anything else? Okay. We will move on to the order of the agenda here. No old business. On new business, we have the approval of the resolution in support of the Empty Bowl and the Collinsville Food Pantry. We've been giving the same amount for the last several years. And just so everybody knows that within the next couple of weeks, we're waiting, I even got a check today from some of the folks in the women's club and stuff still getting their ticket sales in and stuff, but we're gonna have a final tally, and that tally is gonna be, I believe, the highest it's ever been. Our attendance was the highest it's ever been, and I believe the money raised is gonna be the highest it's ever been. And I want to thank Steve back there in the band that played there. You guys did an awesome job too. So it was a lot of fun. It's got new life, let's just say, and it all goes to a great cause. Brad?
How much money did we raise in funding?
Last year it was $15,174, and this year I think that we're going to be over $16,000.
So we're gonna spend $2,500 to make that back. That's pretty good return.
Yeah.
How much are our costs? Can we figure out our costs for our people?
The cost is, I mean, I don't have it right in front of me. A lot of it is my time and Tara's time, you know, so
What
anyway.
about flyers, tickets, all of those?
The flyers, were under $10. The tickets were, I believe, $70. And I'm trying to think what else. The Collinsville City, they donate the space, they decorate the thing and all
We're
that.
just concerned how we're keeping the costs separate from the revenue.
Right, so, and it's all in your bills from the previous. Okay,
I motion that we, pass resolution number 2025-R04.
do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, no other discussion, roll call.
Trustee Sue? Yes. Stewart?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
Supervisor Cox?
Yes. All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of the resolution in support of the PEP fund application. Just to give everybody a background, PEP basically started when the CARD, if anybody's been around for a while, CARD was the Collinsville Area Recreational District. All the money from the county went to that district and for the parks and recreation. I know Brad helped with this effort, but when that was dissolved, then the municipalities took over the parks. So if you lived in Maryville, Maryville owned their parks. If you live in Collinsville, Collinsville owned their parks. And Maryville residents paid for Maryville Park. Collinsville residents paid for Collinsville's. Being a part of everything, we were eligible then for, and that was a big reason that I did this, that I worked so hard on this, we were eligible for PEP funds because this is considered a recreational facility. So this year, they bumped us up and we got $41,000 in a grant this year for the senior center. I filled out all the paperwork. The only last thing left to fill out is we're taking that money and applying it directly to the $125,000 grant. It's like basically a grant loan that they gave us for that parking lot, okay? And so basically in 2 years, we're going to have that paid off, all right? It is a low interest loan, but this PEP grant actually pays for all the interest on the loan. So it is at zero cost to the taxpayers. We thought it was gonna be possibly 5 years to pay it off, but it looks like it's gonna be closer to 3.5 to 4. Then after that, then we're gonna be eligible for, again, $40,000 a year for the senior center or recreational facilities, possibly across the street or whatever, okay? So we have to pass this resolution to say that this money is going for the parking lot. Any questions? For you? Yeah.
I was just gonna motion that we pass resolution number 2025-R05.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
Sewell? Yes. Supervisor Cox?
Yes. Next is the approval of the resolution committing GASB fund balances for the Collinsville Township Road District. And we do this every year. Kathy, you want to give just a brief overview, or does the board understand? It's for accounting purposes?
Yeah, it's just to let you know that even though we have these funds left, we have already purchased some things that haven't come in. So even though we have funds left at the end of the year, we've already designated some of that for purchases of equipment. And the one for the too in Keebler. We told Maryville we would help with a easement purchase of one of the property owners. It was gonna be kind of costly. So that was $60,000 for that replacement.
Okay, thank you. Accept a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, roll call?
Trustee Gunther?
Yes.
Sewell? Yes. Stewart?
Yes.
Supervisor Cox?
Yes. And last item on the new business is the annual stormwater report. I gotta say, I look forward to this every year. So exciting.
I really condensed mine.
Okay.
Scott was telling me some people have like 3 or 4 pages. Mine's short, so.
Thank you.
Stormwater is something that we have a co-op group, I guess you could call it, or that we work together through the county. They started this years ago. And we work as a group because it lowers our costs, and there's so much information with stormwater. It helps us with our licensing that we have to have sent off to the state. And this group, Gonzalez Group, is in charge of it for us, and we pay Gonzalez Group to do the paperwork in that for us. With having this co-op, or group, I guess you could say, co-permittee group, it ends up costing us $1,100 each a year, instead of having to put out, $30,000 possibly each person to have their paperwork done. So it works out well. But I'm gonna start, I'll just read you a little bit of what stormwater is. Stormwater is about water quality in the matter of the amount of runoff from storm events which creates sediment and erosion. MS4, which is Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, was mandated by the US EPA through the Clean Water Act. Through this act, the Illinois EPA requires reporting on 6 minimum control measures, which include public education and outreach, public involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site runoff control, post-construction runoff control, and pollution prevention and good housekeeping. Prior to the initial MS4 permit in 2003, Madison County created a co-permittee group which consists of 25 municipalities and townships in the urbanized area of the county. The purpose of the group is to be able to share resources by sharing the cost of monitoring, educational guidance, staff training, etc. The undertaking of these responsibilities alone would require a great deal more time, effort, and costs than working together with this co-permittee. And as I said, the current cost is $1,100 per year per co-committee group. Madison County's role in stormwater is to provide technical support and guidance to the group. They organize quarterly meetings, coordinate MS4-related activities. They provide periodic audits with the Illinois EPA. We're audited every 5 years. We are on the list to be audited again this year. They come down to our facility and make sure that we're doing everything properly. Let's see, they organize, let's see, where was that? Okay, well, I'll just read this again. They organize quarterly meetings, coordinate MS4-related activities, provide the periodic audits with the Illinois EPA, and help prepare and submit annual reports for each jurisdiction in the group. And finally, they submit the notice of intents every 5 years, which outline how each member is planning to address the 6 minimal control measures that I read earlier each year of the 5-year permit. Not only are the savings of this co-permittee group substantial, but also working with other municipalities and townships create a rapport, which has turned out to be very useful with dealing with stormwater issues. Stormwater reports are posted annually on the website. If you ever have any questions concerning stormwater problems, please call our road department. And we do initiate a couple of programs that we do for stormwater control, and that is our leaf hacking and our, we pick up limbs in the township. And what that does is that's helped us with a lot of our flooding that we had previous years by keeping those catch basins and gutters and that free of all the debris. So we used to, 20 years ago, it seems like we were constantly being called out when we had hard rains, and now it's very minimal. that we have problems with the flooding during the big events, so. Also too, what we do is go out and clean, we know we were gonna have a lot of rain, we go out and we clean out all the catch basins and check the gutters and that too, just to make sure that, you know, we try to help as much as we can with flooding purposes. Do you have a question?
I was gonna say, I drive all over this county for the bus company, and we are the only township that cleans our storm sewers.
Yes.
The only one.
Yeah, well, it's important, and that's one of the things we're supposed to be doing, so we keep up with that. We have like 320-something catch basins that we clean out, and also we have a placard on them that talk about stormwater. We have to placard each one of those catch basins, so. Does anybody have any questions? I'm more than happy to answer them. All right, well, thank
Okay.
you.
Till next year.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We are considering approving items A through F. Clerk?
Right, so you have minutes from the regular meeting, March 12th, the special meeting held March 28th, and then 4 reports that we normally have every month.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay.
Consent agenda item.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And we'll move to the approval of bills. Clerk?
Okay, bills for the month. First of all, under general assistance, we had expenditures for the month of $1,867.92. I motion we approve the expenditures for general
Okay.
assistance.
And I'll second.
And just want to mention this because it has been out there that we've spent far less than my predecessor on general assistance. Again, when I got into office, I believe that general assistance is for helping people, not paying salaries of our own people. I took that salary and I moved it into a separate fund. That's why when you look at the overall numbers, the numbers are less. You have to tell the full story. Roll call.
Trustee Sewell? Yes. Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
Supervisor Cox?
Yes.
Okay, next, under Road and Bridge, we had expenditures for the month of $111,623.16.
A motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. And I will talk about, because it was part of this fund that it was mentioned. Ben mentioned because it was on Facebook. Imagine that. It was on Facebook, and it said that $1.8 million has gone missing, and the supervisor, I need to look it up in the phone. I didn't know this was going to come out. But the supervisor illegally moved this money. I mean, I'm putting it in general terms, okay? I'd like to know how in the world, how does that get on Facebook? How does that happen? It had, and Jen, you didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
No, sir.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And
Stayed out of the Facebook.
right, and I appreciate it. Right,
My lesson 4 years.
right, yeah. So, well, what I'm saying is this is nothing to do with me. This is to do with their money. And to put that out there, to wind people up and get them all scared, it's just purely wrong. And to talk about our finances that way, you know, so this came from an office employee. It's wrong, and we'll have to deal with it moving forward. All right?
It's just
So-
policy and procedure.
Right.
You gotta talk and communicate with all departments before you go moving money. No money was stolen. It was moved without anybody being told.
No, it wasn't moved. It wasn't moved.
It was swept out.
It was not moved. All it is a account.
It was an account number 75.
Jen.
And now it's not.
Jen.
So that is a move of money.
No, it's not. No, it is not. Okay? Nothing changes. Nothing changes. We already went over this with the bank, me, you, and Kathy on the phone.
I didn't say
Nothing
anything.
changes.
I'm talking about
When you do your bills,
communicating with your employees.
what's that?
Communication is huge.
Listen, it doesn't go then on Facebook to say that the money is stolen, okay? That's a problem. That is a major problem that is going to be fixed. That's it. Cut it off. That's it.
I'm not gonna cut it off.
Yes, you are. That's it.
Do I get arrested?
Okay?
or what?
Sure.
Okay.
All right? We're moving on. So the money is there. There's no problems. Everything's taken care of. All right, roll call on that bill.
Trustee Stewart,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
Sewell, Supervisor Cox.
Yes.
Okay, the town fund had expenditures for the month of $97,181.51.
Quick question on that, are we talking about the costs for the empty bowl coming out of the town fund? Is that where those bills would be?
No, they would have been before that. It would have been before that, not this month.
Last month, you mean?
Yeah.
All costs would have been around last month?
Yes. Before it would, we had, so you're talking about the
Any
$10
costs- Any
and
costs associated with the empty bowl is what I'm asking for.
I can't guarantee you that I'd have to go through all the bills, that there's not $10 or something in there that helped the empty bowl. All right? So, you know, if that's your holdup, then that's what it is. Do we have a motion to accept the bills or not?
I motion we accept the bills for,
Okay.
Town fund.
Town fund.
I second.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Gunther,
I'll abstain.
Trustee Sewell,
yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Supervisor Cox.
Yes. And senior center?
And last is the senior center, which had expenditures for the month of $6,340.67.
Motion we approve that expenditure.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions? If not, roll call.
Trustee Sewell,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
Supervisor Cox.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Highway Commissioner, Kathy?
More to say? You've been up 3 times. You get more shot? Use the microphone this time.
As far as right now, what we've got going on, we're planning on, paving a couple of areas that I wanna put bids out on because it's too much for us to do. But one of the projects is out in the Pat Drive area, but I'm waiting for Village of Maryville's putting new water lines out there. Apparently, I guess the company they're using forgot to order the fire hydrants, and I guess they're special ones. So they aren't gonna be in until probably, he told me today, May or June. So I'm not sure on that project if it's gonna be able to be included this year yet or not, depending on when they get them and how long that project takes, because you can only pay for a certain amount of the year. So, anyway, that's what we've got going on right now. We've got a project out on South Shore. We're widening the road out there a little bit, putting in some drainage and putting in a bigger cul-de-sac on that street. It's not that there's a lot of people there, but, we have a hard time turning around in there, as do other vehicles. So it's been something I've wanted to address for the last 4 years, but we're finally, able to. We got engineering done on it that took forever last year and put it off from being done last year. So that's our first project we're tackling right now. I also would like to get the rest of Dieterding Hills paved. We've got a little over half of it done, I guess, at this point. But I don't have the people to do the work that needs to be done before they do the paving this year, so that'll probably be next year. And besides that, we're busy. I don't know if you've seen our yard, but they're putting a gas line in.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I just told them I'm glad they aren't in one of my residents' yards, that's all I've gotta say, because it's a mess. So, But anyway, they're doing that right now down in our area on the road, and we do have the fiber optics going in everywhere right now. Yeah, and it's really, it looks a little messy when they're doing it, but they do a nice job of taking care of the properties when they're done. So really, that's all I've got right now, so, yeah.
Thank you.
I think I've talked enough tonight,
Good.
so.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, the assessor, he provided a statement, and moving on to trustees.
So I want to begin also with saying the steps that were taken were provided to the trustees through township official leaders. So taking something to the state's attorney's office was done so through someone else's guidance. So I just want to put that out there, that that was done through the township official leaders, the guidance that they gave. Also, some of this started months ago. I'm also glad the election is over, because now we can actually talk about it as our job that we are supposed to be doing now that the election is over. So I want to begin by saying how proud I am of the accomplishments our board and township leadership have made over the past 4 years. As I said earlier, it has truly been an honor to serve our community in this capacity as a trustee. I'm especially proud of the incredible staff in every department, the assessors, the senior center, general assistants, and roads and bridges. We see the hard work, we hear the compliments from residents, and we know that none of our progress would have been possible without the commitment and excellence of our staff. Their ability to provide high quality service to our community day in and day out truly is what made the Collinsville Township successful and meaningful. While I am incredibly proud of all that we have accomplished during our term, I must address one area of deep disappointment, which is general assistance and social services, which unfortunately did not grow or expand as it should have, leaving the Collinsville Township falling behind some of our neighboring townships in this critical area of support. So it's in, after 4 years, and I did receive these numbers directly from the general assistance staff. So the people who manage the finances. So we have virtually made no progress in expanding the general assistance services in Collinsville Township. One of the core responsibilities of a township is to provide emergency assistance to residents facing housing instability, utility shutoffs, and other urgent needs for those who may or may not know. In the 2 years prior to our term, in 2021, the Collinsville Township provided over $77,000 in direct home relief assistance. In the 4 years since, that number has dropped to under $20,000, a reduction of more than 85%. And again, those numbers are ones that I received directly from the office. This is not just a number, but it's a reflection of how many of our residents have been left without help if and when they needed it the most. And then also with the blessing box, we did agree to remove it, but then there was no solution or no effort to be made to come up with any solution for the blessing box after it was removed. Even though I have expressed my concern on this topic at multiple board meetings about general assistance, I still accept ownership for not doing more and for not advocating more loudly for expanding general assistance and social services, despite, but when I did speak up, particularly during the discussion about establishing an overnight warming location, I was met with backlash, and the issue was misrepresented and politicized into something it was never intended to be. Meanwhile, other townships have stepped up. Some have created mental health boards, some employ full-time caseworkers, have designated shelters, community gardens, student social work interns, and they implement far more visible and proactive approaches to getting help to those who need it. So marketing, and I know that's come up in multiple meetings as well. Meanwhile, despite multiple trustees voicing concern over the lack of outreach and communication, our township has failed to promote even the most basic assistance programs on social media or in community-facing materials that are mailed. This is a missed opportunity, not just for better public service, but for real impact in people's lives. We can and we should be doing more. I couldn't end my statement without addressing the ongoing concerns surrounding the township's financials, particularly related to the bus trips and the broader issue of transparency. If I acted this defiantly toward my board of trustees when I served as a library director, or refusing to provide financial information, repeatedly delaying responses and FOIA requests, all of which we have documented before, I would have been fired, and rightfully so. Accountability and transparency aren't optional in public service, they're the foundation of the job. This type of behavior, coupled with the ongoing lack of communication, sends the wrong message to staff, to trustees, and the community. An example of conflicting information relates to the emergency audit that was reported by the supervisor compared to the information that I and therefore the trustees received directly from the CPA. So just this month in the supervisor's report, he said, our auditor reviewed receipts, documents, and statements, then provided his opinion in a letter that states nothing was done improperly. However, the information I received directly from the CPA said he didn't look at the full account, he just looked at a few of the transactions. The transactions he mentioned specifically were in regards to the Savannah trip, the refunds from the Branson trip due to trip cancellation, and the day trips. I asked him to clarify if these day trips were separate from the bus tour trips, and he confirmed that it was in fact day trips from the senior center. Additionally, I told Kevin that the trustees recently received 30 documents. That was right after we received all the documents. I asked Kevin, who's the CPA, if he reviewed the same documents that the trustees had received, and he said no. He did not have those 30 documents to review. So again, it's just conflicting information from what we're getting from different people, which is why we just try to ask the questions. When residents are presented with conflicting and inconsistent information across social media posts, interviews, FOIA requests, it's understandably, it raises concerns, not just among the public, but among trustees as well. Apparently we've had more FOIA requests. I'm only aware of 3 of them. So I'm being blamed for this influx of FOIAs. I say that is because people are concerned, as are some of the trustees. Residents have every right to ask questions and request information. It is our responsibility to provide clear, consistent answers. If the same information is being requested repeatedly by multiple residents, I strongly recommend, as some libraries have had to do that I have been familiar with, you create a drive and you have all of this documents in a drive and people can just access it if that would cut down on FOIA requests. Doing so would not only promote transparency, but also create a more efficient and cohesive process for the FOIA officers and our community. In closing, I would like to thank the residents for the opportunity to serve over the past 4 years. While we've made meaningful progress and achieved successes I'm incredibly proud of, it's also our responsibility to reflect honesty on the areas where we've fallen short. Transparency and accountability and a commitment to serving our most vulnerable neighbors must always remain at the heart of our work. I remain hopeful with the continued community engagement and a renewed focus on collaboration with the incoming board members. This township can rise to meet its full potential. Thank you.
Okay, so again, I'm glad the election is over as well, so we can kind of get back to some of these business items. One of the things that I wanted to start with is what I've learned along the way, and that's that there's a lot of controls and processes that haven't even begun to scratch the surface of where we need to be from an accountability, from a transparency perspective. There's a lot of work to be done, and I can absolutely say 100% that I was remiss in digging into this from the very beginning, right? And I think the supervisor can agree that, you know, when we took over a business from another entity, especially from a business owner that you didn't agree with and didn't trust, that we should have from the very beginning inspect what we expected. We should have looked at all of those bank accounts from the very beginning. We were told to look at those bank accounts by political counterparts. So that the bank accounts was nothing new, right? I failed to look at it. It was through looking through some old notes from previously campaigning that I ran across that. So, but I still didn't know what I was looking for. Anyway, I'm not gonna go rehash all of these FOIAs, but there are still some outstanding issues, and it's not just $1.8 million that turned up missing. There's some operational issues that followed with the movement or the reallocation of $1.8 million, but there were 21 bank accounts, and a number of those bank accounts were collecting 0% interest. That is what garnered my focus. I received a note from the bank provided by the supervisor that listed all of our accounts, redacted information. It's the same information that you guys get in your statements every month, is what was published, right? That's what the bank sent forward. The bank's not gonna send PII, personal identifiable information, through email as part of a FOIA request, right? So the information that was published was provided by the bank and sent by Mr. Cox to me, a trustee, as a request of my FOIA. So there, in plain sight, was a list of all of these bank accounts with 0% interest, collecting 0% interest. Why? Why? Well, the first one was $1.8 million. That's the largest amount that was in the list of these accounts. Garnered my interest, and it was a road and bridge account. So my first contact was to Kathy. I didn't know she didn't own the account. I just saw it was attached to road and bridge, so I went and talked to Kathy and asked Kathy, you know, what's the deal with this? Can we not collect interest on our own money? There's gotta be a reason, right? I mean, for 4 years, we haven't made a dime off $1.8 million. That's just one account. There's 21 other ones. Now, I don't know the interactions, the inner workings of every account, what it would take for us to gain interest on any one of those accounts. I'm not the treasurer. But I see glaring 0% in my face, and that's why I started digging. So we've heard that this 1.8 million has been addressed. What I'm looking for is, what did we do about the rest of the accounts, right? Because that's the reason that I started digging. And why did it take us from March the 12th, or March the 3rd, when this was uncovered and delivered, to March the 12th, when it was delivered as the part of the meeting, now 25 days later, and we still don't have any transparency, right? My expectation would have been, as a trustee, and you as the treasurer, that we would have these interactions, that you would say, that we wouldn't have to answer the question. We wouldn't have to ask the question. That you would provide that to us, that you would say, hey, you know what, here's the list of 21 accounts. I know you were concerned, trustee, about these 0% interest, and here's what I did about it. But we haven't gotten that still. We haven't gotten the redacted information still. So where are we with the confirmation on interest-bearing accounts? Where are we with single signature authorities? I don't know this, and this is for council. You know, based on the Ronner decision, can we single sign without the clerk attesting to distribution of funds?
I don't know off the top of my head what the Ronner decision is, but
It requires the clerk attest to every disposition of funds.
for township clerk,
Yes.
okay. I think every account that was set up that would require that did have Jim as and the secondary signator, or whatever the terminology is.
But we just moved $1.8 million without Jim going and.
Did the account?
Do you want me to answer?
Or
No,
did it get
I'm asking legal counsel.
I thought, I don't know if the account moved or if it was just.
There were changes made.
Reclassified.
There were changes made.
Which I don't know that would require his signature.
That's what I'm asking, that's why I'm asking the question.
My understanding is that the account was just essentially reclassified. I don't know what the terminology is, but it wasn't, the account itself wasn't changed.
It resulted in operational impact, right?
Can I tell you what
I'm just asking that question.
Right.
I don't know that it did, but it may have, I don't know.
But why are we only required one signature? And I think that's what you're asking.
Why, I'm sorry.
What part of the legality of requiring double signatures and attest to every dealing with township revenue or township funds? It's not necessarily revenue.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, I'm sorry, what exactly is the question? Why was Jim not involved with
Why,
Whatever transfer becomes-
if there's precedent for the dual signature authority, is that not a requirement?
Under our bylaws, no, I think under the township code, no. That there's one treasurer that is the supervisor. That he's allowed to act as the treasurer. I don't know why the clerk would be required to be.
That's why I'm asking. It says based on that the clerk will attest to.
I don't know about the legality of it, but, I mean, I've been on a lot of boards, and a practical matter is, people die, and if Derek would be.
Exactly.
It would be for-
We'd have to get a
for
court
change.
order.
It's
or
continuity of
my name
business
on
is
it.
what
Yeah.
I'm focused on, right?
Sure, and continuity of business is different from day-to-day operations. Right, I know that Jim's signature would be required for day-to-day operations. If now, like Jim said, if Derek,
Well, if he's required
Died or
to, and that's my
was
question,
incapacitated
is he
or-
required to, and I need that answer, is he required to attest to?
I'm required by the township code to attest to every expenditure.
Check.
Every expenditure made by. Now, if we would have an account, a checking account, and my name isn't on the signature card, my attesting to that probably kind of meaningless. I don't know.
And what's the legality surrounding that is my question.
an
Can
account.
we have an account that intermingles township funds that is only attested to by one signature and not the clerk?
I don't know, offhand, to be honest with you.
And that's okay. I
If that
mean,
could
I
be
didn't
done or
expect
not.
you, I
No,
didn't
no,
expect
no.
an answer.
I will say that the township code generally, the treasurer, the supervisor is designated as the treasurer. He has the authority to direct funds.
So our bylaws say one signature.
And so my,
Our
what
bylaws
I've learned is that, do we want those controls, or do we want stricter controls in place?
Then maybe the new board will do that. Alls I'm saying
We still
is,
have 2 meetings left.
alls I'm saying is that it was put out there that I was doing something knowingly illegal.
I don't know who-
And what
You're-
I know, because the bank called me, all right? What I'm saying is, I went down there and I said, why is there only one signature on this? And they said, and she had it, she whipped it out, she says, right here, it's in your bylaws, one signature.
And that's what I've asked for, hang on,
Yep.
because that's why I asked for the unredacted information and business.
I
release,
gave you
to which I
everything,
still
you
don't
have to ask the FOIA, we'll get to that, but we'll have to ask the FOIA officer. I have handed over every single document that I have. When it's a FOIA, you don't go digging for stuff. Whatever they gave me, that's what I gave to you. That's it, that's how it works.
So back to these controls.
Well, and even though our bylaws have one signature, I think that's also why you're asking, but what's the state law? Because.
Absolutely.
And I come to every library account that I ever had to have 2 signatures if any taxpayer money was in it. So
Government
that's-
entity, period.
Correct, yes, any government account, yeah.
And-
So that's where it was like, even if our bylaws say one signature, if there's a state law that, like, maybe we need to update our bylaws then if there's a
That's
rounder
exactly right.
act.
And the thing is too, is that a lot of people don't understand that there's a bond, and it's basically if the supervisor were to do something wrong, steal the money, whatever, take off to Mexico, all right, it cost us almost, what is it, Kathy? It's $10,000 and it's $17,000 a year.
Okay.
I'm the only one on that, not Jim, me, and that's how the townships work.
So it's back to oversight, governance, and the treasurer reporting structure. Again, I mean, I think we can be improving by providing that information without being asked, right? And I know there are some reports that are recommended through TOI, and I think looking at those and implementing those to make sure that, again, that transparency is delivered, that there are no questions, right? So we're not in the middle of an election cycle asking questions, because it's gonna continue, right? I mean, it's not, just because the election's over, this process is not done. I mean, there's, you know, overtime, there are a number of other issues related, right? I mean, overtime, not being paid, there are legal and HR implications around those things. We have to be better at providing those standard operating procedures and processes so that this can operate without those questions. And I mean, going back to what I didn't get to present last meeting, and this is a good guy, right? So there are already other townships doing these things that we can leverage, that it takes 30-minute conversations to talk with Jarvis Township about what they did in their bus trips, right? They were like us originally. They had a separate account set up. They had a person that was a township employee that we're paying to govern and execute that process. No longer do they have that, right? They separated those accounts. We cannot have the same, I don't care how many times people are gonna say it, we cannot have the same tax ID number. You can't use your social security number and on 2 different accounts, one for the township and one for not. You cannot do that.
That's not what the auditor says. He said you were screaming at him on the
The
phone,
auditor-
and he
the
said,
auditor
what does
didn't-
that have to do with it?
I asked the questions to
Just
the
tell her.
auditor. She asked the question to the auditor
You
again.
talked to somebody, did you talk to Kevin? You
Kevin
talked to
and Chris,
Kevin.
both.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
We both talked to both.
I'm just
of them.
telling you what they told me.
I'm just telling you what I learned is that there was not an apples to apples comparison.
Go
You
ahead.
didn't ask about the EIN. It was not even bridged. It was not asked.
Are you gonna settle down, or are you gonna finish?
I'm just telling you.
Go ahead.
So, just back to the lessons learned. Have we talked to Jarvis? They've been doing this 5 years, right? They don't have, they have separate bank accounts. They do not commingle township resources with those activities. They do a sponsorship. So similar to what we've been approving in this meeting, we could eliminate ourselves from responsibility and accountability to that process, to those funds, to any of this scrutiny by following their lead. And I'm not saying I know it all. I basically talked to them for 15, 20 minutes, but they have some folks there that have done this for 5 years. And why we wouldn't have talked to them right when we started these bus trips, I don't know. You said you talked to someone and they told you how to set it up. It wasn't Jarvis. Who did we talk to?
Are you done?
I'm not done.
Okay, then I'm not
I mean,
gonna.
what?
We
Wait,
had-
I do.
Okay, just asking.
So all transactions are managed by non-township personnel. No commingling of any resources or costs. Like we're talking about in this township fund, where we're spending money for tickets, advertising, mailings twice because we failed the first time. Yeah, 6:30 to 7 o'clock. It was supposed to be 6:30 originally, to change it to 7 o'clock, we mailed them twice. The empty bowl flyer. So, costs, right? These are costs, Derek. You're laughing, but this is what.
You don't even know the process or anything what you're talking about.
I do know.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I'm asking you to tell me, where do those costs come from? Where are we paying for those costs for these outside of township activities? Where do
Listen.
the costs come from?
With the township, okay, that you've always been, wanting us to do more, like she says, in general assistance. What he's talking about, because I know a lot of folks are confused, it's the empty bowl, that all the money goes to the food pantry. Are you gonna interrupt me, or? Listen, I'm not gonna
But I'm
answer
not
you.
just talking about empty bowl, is what I'm.
That's what I'm talking, what are you talking about then?
Any township, non-township sponsored activity, empty bowl, bus trips to Savannah, any of that activity should be managed outside of the township, period. No cost.
That is why I set up a separate account, okay? The director, we have a director that you approved her salary, you approved, when she did this, you knew about this trip,
I didn't.
okay? And by the way.
I didn't know about the bank account.
Hold on, by the way, this was, and I'll give him credit, this was my predecessor's idea to do trips. I know there's some people in this room that have done trips. A lot of senior centers do trips. Our director said, hey, we have a lot of seniors here that want to do a trip, but we need to set up a separate account to make sure that those funds don't intermingle with any tax funds. That's exactly what I did, all right?
What about your costs? What about your costs? That's where I'm at. You can manage.
There was $0. They paid for their trip.
Tara is $0.
They paid for their trip.
Tara, $0.
That is
$0.
general assistance. That is
That's
part of
our
general
salaries,
assistance.
Derek.
All right,
We're
okay.
paying the salaries.
All right, you done?
These folks are paying those salaries.
And that's, they're doing stuff for that. Yeah, you're done. You lost by 400 votes. Let's go. You done? Okay. All right.
Mr. Gunther, you should have ran for supervisor.
So let me just say this. You didn't answer his question. You're by law, mandated, after somebody says that they were, to sexual assault and all this, why didn't you go to the police? You told us all.
I didn't go to the police.
But you told us that you did.
No, I did not say I went to the police, Derek.
Yes, you did.
I reported it.
Reported it to who then? Us?
I reported it.
That's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to, if somebody's getting
I reported
assaulted.
it to Illinois Department of Public Health, and, at 10:30 at night, after I learned about it.
All right, you're done. Quiet.
No, I'm not done.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not done.
You just said you were
I
done.
did not say I was done.
You're done.
I'm not done.
I'm saying you're done. All right. So, now, let's get to a
Answer
few
the question.
things.
Where are the 0%?
I just said,
Okay, where are the
you're
0%?
done. 0%.
Where are the interests? You've had public comment asking for that tonight as well.
Listen.
And just dismissed it. How much money are we making now?
Do you want to shut up?
No.
All right. Well, if you don't, then you're going to be out of the meeting. So quiet. I'm going to explain if you let me explain.
I can't wait.
Okay? All right. First of all, to answer his question, on the bank accounts, I went down there the moment that I found out. The very next day, went down. The very next day, so it would have been March the 13th, okay, I went down and spoke to Diane. And I said, Diane, what's going on here? They're saying that I illegally did something with one signature, and she whipped out the bylaws, and she says, no, you didn't. This is how it works, all right? Then I said, well, why are we not receiving interest on some of these accounts? She says, Derek, those accounts are not eligible. If they have money, it's just like on your checking account, okay, on folks' checking account. If you have so many transactions, you're not going to get interest. You put that money into a CD, okay? And so there's money coming in, there's money going out. A lot of these accounts are not eligible. She says, let me work you up a deal. Let me work you up a deal, and then we're going to meet again. I'm going to meet with the vice president, and we're going to see what products, is what they call, were available. So I went down there again. That was after then you released all the banking information on social media. Now, you can say that that's not illegal, but let me just ask anybody in here, be honest. Have you ever taken a picture of your bank accounts and then put them out there on social media? Has anybody ever done that? I'm asking, is it quiet? Okay, so nobody's ever done that. So it might not be illegal, but I certainly wouldn't want that with my accounts. They told me that you are more acceptable now to hacking and things because now they know how much you're in those bank accounts. And Diane, all right? So I went back to the third meeting. I met with the vice president and Diane, and they said, listen, in fact, we can do something with this one account, okay, the big one, all right? And listen, I'll admit, I could have done better. I should have done better. I'm upset with myself. I'm upset with our accountant. I'm upset that everything. When I went down and met with Kathy in the very beginning, all right, she says, listen, we're all on board, and I'll just say, don't mess with my money. And I didn't. And so I'm just saying that I didn't. I did not look at that account in Road and Bridge. I didn't want to offend her. The first couple of years, it would not have made more. But we could have made more. But I am saying this. I'm very proud that when we first started, I believe the first year we made like $2,000 in interest. Last year we made $96,000. So could we have made more? Yeah, we could have made more. But we still did a lot better than when I started. All right? So, moving forward. And I'm going to do that. And so, moving forward, there's a few things that were mentioned about general assistance that I have to hit. Now we're into, I'm sorry, I don't want to skip the clerk. Achenbach.
I don't really have anything other than thanking everybody for coming to the annual town meeting.
Okay.
Much appreciated.
Right. And so then the last item on the agenda is mine, and I'm going to spend just a little time. General assistance, all right? As I mentioned before, Trustee Stewart even said, that money in general assistance used to be a salary. When you take that salary out, it's basically even. I am not. Why should we take money from you? You're the taxpayer, and then just decide to give it away to whoever wants it, all right? That ain't the law, all right? And the other thing is, I truly believe this too. Why should we, when you're taxed, you are mandated to pay that, all right? So I say, Tom and Scott, you pay me money, and then I'll decide who we want to give it to. How about we just don't take your money and you decide who you want to give it to, all right? That's the way I believe. So I follow and we follow the law. When they come in, if they are eligible for, say if it's Social Security or TANF or any of these things that they're not receiving or they haven't applied for yet, they are not eligible for general assistance. You're asking me to up that and to break the law. That's not my money. You can do that with your money. That's their money. We have denied in my 4 years one application. It is also false to say that I've never sent out literature, we've never went to events. That is false, all right? And we've been more involved, this township has been more involved since we started on all sorts of events. If you're not there, that's not my fault. But we're always doing things on Saturdays, if it's the chili cook-off, if it's going up to Wood River with the homeless thing, I was there, okay? So it is out there.
We've
The
had
blessing
a social
blocks.
media post for almost a year about general assistance, so it's, that's where that came from.
Okay, the blessing box. This board all decided, because it was so dangerous for our staff, all right? You decided to get rid of it, all right? But then you make me out to be heartless for getting rid of the blessing box. That was this board's call because it was so dangerous up there. When we got it, we got rid of it, okay? Things got better. We did that for the safety of the staff. Then I want to address a few things because there's false and damaging social media posts from you, even after this election defeat, okay? Of course, there was a daily fabrications before the election, but this is after that it actually hurts the township. And it absolutely, well, let's just get to it. The latest post, you said that the supervisor, me, has overdue FOIA requests. You mentioned it tonight. Okay, overdue FOIA requests. I want to put this to bed. Jim, what overdue FOIA requests do you have?
I have a few still outstanding, but they don't really have anything to do with you.
Okay, he said they don't have any. They don't have anything to do with me.
Jim, I said I have a few outstanding. I have received 30 this year so far. I have probably received in the past 4 years maybe a dozen. So it is burdensome on me and the staff, and 95% of them were generated because of the election, and not just because of one person, because of a whole lot of people sitting at this table. And so it's not fair for anybody to be pointing fingers at anybody else, because I got FOIA requests for Ashley's emails, for Derek's emails, even Brad's emails, and Matt's emails, not to mention all kinds of other crazy and outlandish requests. So you can't lay it on one person. And there are still a few open, but believe me, I respond to 2 or 3 a day, and it's not an easy job to do. And most people, some of them who are here have already spoken to me about it. They appreciate that everything I've done to try to get them the information as quickly as possible. And the one you might be addressing was the one related to the bank account thing. That was responded to. It maybe took a few more days longer than we would like to, but we did get all the information. I got the unredacted information from Gabby, and the 2 outstanding requests that were waiting for that information did receive that.
So you're saying that when you've had, because I know one big one that I got, that it took me several days. It was almost 500 pages of every single grant and every single grant paperwork for the last 4 years, because I did all the grants. So I had to go dig all that up, all right? And I get,
somebody for that?
well, I sent a bill, but where is that bill?
We cannot bill. The only people we can bill for work that we have to do for FOIA requests are people who are submitting commercial requests. If somebody's trying to sell us insurance, or they're trying to do something else and they want to gather public information for a commercial reason, we can bill them for a time. Other than
Then we
that,
need to change
any
our
private-
paperwork.
That is, I did change the
Okay,
paperwork.
good.
And that is the state law, that's not anything that we have. Unfortunately, FOIA is FOIA. That, it exists to make sure government remains transparent to all citizens.
I'm not griping
And
about the
we're-
FOIA
and we're doing our-
request.
We're doing our best to do that.
I'm not griping at Jim, I'm not griping at the FOIA request, I'm making it clear to Keely back there, ma'am, I have given every single document that I've ever been asked for in the right time. So really, and let me ask you this, there's 5 days, you get 5 business days. Let me ask the attorney sitting here. Attorney, have you gotten any correspondence from anybody saying that these FOIA requests have not been, I've broken the law in the FOIA request? Other than the folks sitting at this board with no evidence of it.
We don't need to ask.
No, I do need to ask, because it's on social media, right?
You didn't get one. You did get one.
Okay, so, last week's political stunt, yes.
I probably have gotten
He
requests.
can't hear you, babe. He doesn't hear you.
I probably have gotten requests, suggesting that something is overdue or not overdue. I'm not aware of any FOIA requests that we did not.
The Attorney
respond- that we
General
did
or
not
nobody
respond
has
to in
said,
time.
okay.
Some of the problems with that particular requester is that instead of doing what they're supposed to do and sending the FOIA request to the FOIA officer, they send the FOIA request to Supervisor Cox. That's not his job to get them to me. Sometimes it takes longer than maybe the requester would like, but the requester should be sending them to me.
Correct.
And also not requesting them on Facebook. That's not the format to use to request
Right.
information. You send it directly to me. Look on our website, the information's there, and I just updated it to make it as current as
The
possible.
point is that I'm not the FOIA officer. When you FOIA, you send it to Jim, and then if Jim needs help because he can't find something, he asks me. And it should be done in an email so that there's correspondence back and forth. Every single item that I've been requested, I can get it, or I will say, I need a little bit more time, like on the grant thing. And then we've gotten it. I am not aware of a single FOIA request, so I'm tired of hearing it, that has not been fulfilled. Now, the stunt last week cost taxpayers over $1,000. They claim that all this could have been avoided, you said, if I just would have turned over the documents as requested, this is per your Facebook, since February, okay? If I would have turned over the documents that I've been requested since February. Now, let's go to the minutes. You just approved these minutes. These are the facts that Jim reported on. So in February, 2/3, all right? It says, however, Boker, so it was brought up about this original FOIA request that you're talking about. If I would have provided these documents, it would have stopped that meeting last week. It says, however, Boker, that's the attorney, stated this FOIA request was not relevant to the discussion. This is not at all the same FOIA request, which this is a FOIA request that Jim fulfilled something different than the meeting last week. So that, then moving forward, 3/4. This was the first time this account was mentioned in any correspondence and the subject of this meeting discussion. Supervisor Cox acknowledged receipt of this request for the account statement, but had not been asked specifically for receipts until Trustee Ball requested it on 3/21. Supervisor Cox did provide the bank statement later that day. I was asked for a bank statement, and I didn't wait 5 days. I did it later that day. It's in the minutes. Then, 3/21, Trustee Ball submitted a request for the receipts related to this account that we're talking about by email to Supervisor Cox. This was not a FOIA request. It's not a FOIA request. You don't have to when you're a trustee. 3/26, 3 business days later, Cox released the information to the trustees and the FOIA officer that evening. However, CSC Director Gabrielle Kuntz deleted numerous things from the documents prior to the forwarding. The thing is that she redacted last names of trip goers. It ain't no big conspiracy here, okay? I don't know why you guys wanted their last names of people that went to Savannah and paid their own money. The CSC director did that, okay? It wasn't me. So I gave you all these documents on Wednesday. A lot of you guys were here. Last Friday, we had a meeting. So 2 days, they had this stuff for 2 days. The police were here. The place was packed. The meeting cost us over $1,000. For what? That's what I'm saying. And to run my name through all this just for the headline.
Okay, so I have text messages from March 6th requesting information. So this is something we have been asking for.
Text messages to who?
Here you go.
To who?
To you.
Oh,
There are
where does
copies
it
of
say
text
receipts?
messages.
Where does it say receipts? And so it doesn't say receipts anywhere.
It's any of the financial information in the binders pertaining to the trips, and the
It
binders were
does not
not
say
available
that.
in the
It
office.
does not say that. I've already
It says
reviewed
it in
it.
the text message from
Does
March
not.
6th.
It does not.
Matt, have you received receipts from any of the bus trips? No. I haven't either.
The bus trips, what are you talking about? The Branson trip, you absolutely did. You guys don't even know what,
Receipts from refunds, from any of the.
it's all
exchanges.
there.
I never sent it to you, but it was out. And
Oh.
and I sent it to the.
See, okay, there we
I
go.
sent it to the people who asked for it. the
That's
FOIA
right.
request.
There you go. I sent it to Jim. That's,
Oh.
yeah. So, oh, you're right.
So in
It's
the-
all there.
We've been asking for receipts for how long?
You have not been asking for receipts. So let me go, to finalize here, because there's one more thing that needs to be, it's not. It's not. I provide, there's nothing that we're hiding here. It's a non-taxpayer's account. Lastly,
And why does it share the,
I can send you that.
all right. So, a post just this week said that I, from you, supervisor, did not make accommodations for an employee returning from having knee surgery. This is a serious matter, because if it is true, the township could get sued and into a lawsuit. You say this out in public that I did not make accommodations for an employee that was coming back from knee surgery. Just like Trustee Gunther, all right, did you report that? So my thing is, this is a serious thing. Where did you get that information?
I've heard from multiple people. He was pressured to come back to work. He was pressured to come back from his medical leave early to help with reports. Why was your van parked like that to begin with? Do you
The
have
van-
a reason
van
for
park-
your van
listen.
to be parked between?
Listen, here's the
Does it
thing.
match fire lane
Here's-
codes? Does it match the
Listen,
city
I didn't park the
ordinance
van.
about your
I didn't
electioneering
park the van.
material being
Is this
so close
even
to a
Listen,
important?
I'm asking about this employee that you said that I did not make accommodations. Everybody knows here, if I didn't make accommodations for an employee, we could get sued. When we get sued, that's their money, okay? That is blatantly false. I have his doctor's notice. It says right here that he can work 4-hour shifts, 3 days a week. That's it. No, I didn't say names. My point, she did. She says it on social media. My point is,
Say names.
I didn't say names either. My point is, do you want me to call him and ask him if all the accommodations have been set, or will you admit that what you said was not accurate? Which one?
I don't know where the parking, if it was
The parking? What does the parking have to do with anything?
handicap parking? Like, you were right next to a door.
Okay, so we already know the games. So my point is, it is not helpful to the township to day after day after day to put out false, blatantly false information. Like Rich said, people are tired of it, all right? They're tired of this mess. We want to make things good. Our oath of office was to the community, okay, and to make this the best that we can do. There's things that I'm going to be, again, there's things that I'm going to be doing even better in this next term. I'll admit some mistakes, all right? But I want all this to stop.
And I'm also
Are we in
saying,
agreement?
when I get messages.
So I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Okay,
see you next month.
all right. Adjourn. Thank you, guys. Sorry about all that.